welcome to Prequelize This. I'm John, and today we're going to talk about Mitch Rowland's new album, Come June. Who's Mitch Rowland? Imagine you're a young adult, 25 years old, growing up in Columbus, Ohio. You head out to Los Angeles to try music. You know, of course, that means you're working in a pizza shop, right? 3 years later, at 28 years old, your roommate gets an engineering job down at the studio for a guy who is from a really well-known British boy band that's ready to go out on his own and solo. And you get a phone call where he says, hey, the session guitarist just walked out. You play guitar. Can you come on down and help us out? You go on down there. You meet this guy. Happens to be Harry Styles. You don't really know who he is. You're like, hey, buddy, what do you need? And I need some guitar playing, he says. And not only that, but you get the opportunity to do some composing. Next thing you know, album comes out. It's the Harry Styles from the One Direction, and it's huge. And he asks you to go on tour with him. So you do. And you meet the drummer, fabulous drummer, and you start up a relationship. You start dating. You get married to the drummer in Harry Styles' band. You're the guitar player in Harry Styles' band. You're co-writing some of his biggest hits. And within 4 years, you're a Grammy Award winner. And just a few years after that, you put out your own solo album. That's where we're at. This is Mitch Rowland and Come June.
When a mother's touch is slowly burning, you and I in the middle of our...
So this album is interesting because Mitch has made it really well known in interviews that he was heavily influenced by Jose Gonzalez and Bert Jansch. And they are essentially folk artists, simple single acoustic guitar and vocals, and in a little bit of layering though as well. And that's where this gets really interesting for me on this album, because I'm a big fan of Elliott Smith, who, you know, we lost all too soon. But if you've been around for a little while, or you're a fan of this sort of indie pop, indie folk kind of thing, you'll know who Elliott Smith is, because he is an Oscar winner, having done some songs on the soundtrack for Good Will Hunting. And he's working with producer Rob Schnapp, who produced some of Elliott Smith's best albums. And here on Mitch Rowland's record, he's doing some of the same production technique of softer singing, lots of harmonies and lots of layering to give a really kind of atmospheric, not quite ethereal though. This isn't sort of that shoegaze, you know, huge amounts of reverb. It's not that. You're really getting more of an intimate feel with Mitch Rowland's vocals, as opposed to that feel of I'm standing at one end of an airplane hangar while the shoegaze singer is standing at the other end of the airplane hangar. This goes to what Mitch Rowland is saying is kind of the goal of the album, right? He has said that for him, some of the best music is music that provides company and it makes him feel less alone. And that's what he's going for on this album. And with this kind of more immediate, intimate production style, Rob, it really helps him get that. But let's just talk about the songs here for a minute. Are they any good? And the answer is yeah. I really enjoyed this album. I highly recommend it. So I'll just say that right up front here. Bluebells was a single that you may have heard. Beautiful song. And that really sets the tone for what you're going to hear on the rest of the album. Through songs like Shadow Range, See the Way You Roll. And then by the fifth track, Illusionist, it gets a little bit different, a little bit of psychedelia coming into that, which is pretty cool. That's a good track.
Am I the only one they got? Am I the only one whose face they see? Or illusion?
followed by When It All Falls Down. When It All Falls Down is one of my favorites on here. I've got 4 favorites on here. That's one of them. That's kind of at our midpoint, or the start of side 2, if you will.
I'm holding on to something, holding on to see.
And then some of the best stuff here is on the second half of the album, and that would be Here Comes the Comeback, and great track that Mitch wrote and actually gave to Harry Styles for a second for the third album, and it didn't end up getting used. And so then Mitch went to Harry and said, hey, can I have it back for my album? Harry said, sure. And here we are with this song. It's great. I'm smiling because Harry Styles ends up being his backing vocalist on this song. So it's really cool. A little guest star appearance right there.
Here he comes, get your drum. Here comes the comeback. Here comes the comeback. Like the way we're looking today. Hey, 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 hey.
And then that one's followed by another great guest star appearance on All the Way Back with Ben Harper playing some slide guitar. And that one's a little bit more bluesy before we get back into some of that indie folk.
One less car in the drive, 2 dogs howling, going all the way back home.
And then we're finishing up the album with Come June, the title track, which was also a single. And Mitch has spoken about how that one really is kind of a song for his wife. So one of the other things I liked is that it's a succinct album, only 37 minutes, 12 songs, only 37 minutes. 7 of the songs are 3 minutes or less. So it does not overstay its welcome. And what I mean there is, a lot of people think like, if I really like this music, I want it to keep going, right? Give me longer albums, give me 20 songs. I don't know. But when you are in a certain lane, the album gets too samey in that lane, the longer the album, the more it almost becomes not exhausting, a little bit tiring maybe for the listener to listen to it as an album experience. I think an example of that maybe for me is 25 by Adele. That's an hour long, and it's an hour long of Adele just doing the Adele thing. And it's hard to listen to that just all the way through. And so I find myself just wanting to pick a few tracks out that I like, put them on some playlists, and then call it good. So that doesn't happen here with Mitch because he keeps things succinct. He's not doing a multi-genre album like he does with Harry, actually. Those albums can stretch out a little bit, and they could be longer because there's a lot of different things going on in the different styles of songwriting, the different genres that Harry's tackling from song to song. But here on Come June, Mitch is really kind of staying in one lane, doing it really well, and keeping it at a really good length for digesting it in one sitting and one listen. So it's a really comforting, intimate 37 minutes, and it really reaches his goal, I think, of making you feel like you've got somebody there with you. Great album to come out right now as we're going into fall and autumn, and kind of has that feel of, wrap yourself up in a blanket, get yourself your hot apple cider, and relax with Mitch Rowland's Come June. Highly recommended. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for being here, and see you on the next one.